Welcome back to Through the Trapdoor. I'm Katie.
And I'm Emily, and welcome to our podcast where we read you Harry Potter fan fiction.
Yes, it is so much fun. We're now 6 episodes in. This is the 5th episode of this fan fiction, Chapter 5, What Dudley Didn't Know. And I think,
Should we do a brief recap of what's happened?
Probably.
So
since we haven't done that at all.
Yeah, Now 5 chapters and people might forget. So basically, Dudley has a magical child. His parents freaked out.
Well, Vernon freaked out.
Yeah. Petunia actually handled it surprisingly well.
Well, I mean, she did have a magical sister.
Yes.
And
Harry.
So she knew that Will was magical, I feel like, well before anybody else did.
Probably.
Because she knew kind of what to look for.
She's seen the signs.
So Dudley reached out to Harry.
Yes.
For help, and Harry just showed up, and Dudley lost 300 pounds, and Harry didn't recognize him. Which, I mean, valid. It's been 20 years. I probably wouldn't recognize somebody after 20 years, even if they were my cousin.
True.
All right, here we go. Chapter 5. Both cousins spent the longest time just staring at each other. Or at least Dudley thought Harry was staring at him. It was a little hard to tell with the hood of Harry's cloak covering his face. The billowing his cloak did in the wind didn't help Harry's aura of mystery. For all Dudley knew, Harry could pull his wand out and slay him where he stood. I mean, yes. Would Harry do that?
No, that's not Harry.
No, you are not Voldemort. And even then, all he did was this Expelliarmus. Learn another spell.
Yes. Harry.
We love you, but come on.
Harry.
What would happen to Diane and the kids then? They would collect on your life insurance policy and be just fine.
Yeah.
Because you work for a school system, so I'm sure you have a fairly decent life insurance policy since it's England. I don't know much about that, though.
Yeah, not really.
I'm just making assumptions. Finally, Harry spoke, trying to hide a sheepish chuckle. That's the word. I guess it would be redundant for me to say that I hardly recognize you. Harry's voice seemed as unsure as Dudley felt. Had Harry been just as nervous about this meeting as Dudley had been? That thought put the blonde man at ease. That's a lot of weight to lose. Dudley could only nod dumbly. Watching his family from the corner of his eye, Diane still held Mari close to her, her brows furrowed in a way Dudley recognized as his wife trying not to look frightened.
I'm just curious, how often have you seen your wife trying not to look frightened?
Well, I mean, if while they were dating, they went to, like, haunted corn mazes or things.
They had bats in their house.
Oh, bats, yep. Or a mouse.
Yes.
Mari was hugging her mother's neck as tightly as she could, her face buried in Diane's chest. William hadn't moved from his spot on the deck, but Dudley wasn't sure if that was because his son was standing his ground against Harry or if he was petrified and couldn't move from his spot. I think it's going to be somewhere in between.
Yeah, probably.
Definitely somewhere in between.
I would probably be more on the petrified side, but still standing my ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
I definitely would have been more scared, but definitely trying not to be. Dudley's heart went out to his son, who wasn't even sure of who he was anymore. Harry spoke again, softer this time. "You look good, Dudley." "Much better." The blonde turned his attention back to his cousin. "I wish I could say the same, but..." The wizard laughed. "I suppose I do look rather intimidating, stalking around in my cloak like this. No wonder your wife and children are scared stiff." At this, Diane huffed indignantly. "Perhaps we should continue this inside. I would hate to make your children stand outside too long this late at night." Finally, Diane spoke up. "Perhaps we should. The front lawn is no place to be discussing what we're speaking about." The tone that Diane used told Dudley that Harry had a lot to make up for if he wanted to make a good impression. I wanted to add first.
Why does Harry have a lot to make up for? Like, I don't understand.
I know, he's like left his home late at night on no notice to come talk to you about your wizard son because he is Dudley's wizard cousin.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely who I would want to tell my son about being a wizard.
Yes. But, like, it's not Harry's fault he doesn't know what Dudley looks like. Like, Dudley lost a lot of weight. Like, I'd probably walk past him on the street, too.
Right. I mean, yeah, I know I did say, wait outside in your front lawn. I'll see you at 10. And I just walked by the entire family standing in their front lawn. But I was expecting a blonde beach ball.
Yeah. And, I mean, you're a wizard. Like, you also don't want to just approach random muggles and be like, Dudley? Dudley, is that you?
Because, also you're in a giant cloak with your hood up. I would scream.
Yeah, I'd just be like, nope, bye.
Yeah, and run inside and call the police.
Yeah.
So,
Not a good way to keep the statute of secrecy alive.
definitely not. Someone would get in trouble.
Yeah.
Someone would definitely get in trouble. I like that it just says break.
Yes,
A passage of time. Dudley was shutting the door behind Harry as the family made their way back into the house when Harry made an unusual request. Would you mind shutting the drapes, please? I wouldn't want anyone to see me here. Harry kept the hood of his cloak, which Dudley could now see was an emerald green, up over his head to cover his face. Diane furrowed her brow, not sure what to think of her husband's odd cousin, making sure to keep her youngest away from him until she was sure.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, that's about right. Also, he did just, like, show up, can't see his face yet, and then he's like, can you shut all the drapes? I don't want anyone to see me here. Yeah, that's weird.
Gonna murder all of you.
Yeah, that literally, that is murdery. That is a murdery request.
Very murdery.
Dudley just stared at his cousin, while Will went to shut the curtains to the family room. Why was Harry unwilling to show his face to strangers? A chill went through Dudley's veins. Surely those people aren't still after him. Why would he come here if he was still in danger? What if he puts my kids in danger? While Diane followed Will with Mari into the family room, Dudley stopped Harry, speaking in an urgent whisper. You aren't still in danger, are you, from those people? You didn't have to come. Harry turned his cloaked face to Dudley. Don't worry, Dudley. I haven't had a dark witch or wizard after me in 19 years. It's the autograph hounds I'm avoiding.
Reasonable.
I can understand that, you know. At 17, you saved the entire wizarding world. You were put on a chocolate frog card. Yeah. And even when you were a child, people were, like, shaking your hand and asking for autographs.
Yeah.
Like, give an 11-year-old some space.
Yes.
Like, come on.
Seriously.
I know probably everyone in the wizarding world probably just assumed you were, like, given to some wizard family, but no. He was raised as a muggle. Y'all crowded him.
Mm-hmm.
He had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. He didn't know who any of you were.
I probably would have cried.
Probably, yeah.
I definitely would have cried. I would have been so overwhelmed that I just would have cried.
Yeah. I mean, like, the whole situation was overwhelming to begin with.
Right. Picked up by a giant from your weird middle of the ocean shack.
Mm-hmm.
Brought to a magical bar no one else could see. Swarmed by people you didn't know. Then went through a magical wall.
Yep.
To buy a bunch of wizard supplies. That's a very overwhelming day.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in.
It is impressive looking back on it how he didn't get swarmed more while he was in the alley, like buying things.
Right. I wonder, though. I wonder if by going through the Leaky Cauldron and Hagrid being all like, come on, guys, official business, that kind of like spread the word through the shopkeepers and stuff like that. Also, if you didn't notice, every shop he went in after that was like empty.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Malfoy.
Yep.
Getting sized for his wizard robes.
Yeah, so I wonder if maybe they did spread the word, hey, Harry's coming, like, back off, he's not used to this.
Right. Back to the story. The what? Dudley stared incredulously at his cousin, who promptly ignored the look and went into the family room. Dudley followed soon after, still slightly confused. Fair.
Yep.
Valid. I would also be slightly confused.
Super confused.
My cousin's just like, "Ugh, I don't want anyone who wants an autograph to show up." Also, it's in a muggle
Community?
Yeah. Unless there are some squibs as Dudley's neighbor.
He does live on a compound, though.
No, Harry lives on the compound.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Harry lives on a compound. Like, he's a little on the crazy side.
Oh, that's true. That's true. We did establish that he was crazy because he lives on a compound. I thought we were referring to Dudley for a hot second.
No, Dudley is normal. He lives in a nice, normal town. Harry lives on a compound.
Correct. The moment Dudley walked into the family room, he knew tensions were high. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Strange man in the living room. I would be also very tense. Diane was sitting on the couch, Will and Mari on either side of her, staring at Harry. Harry stood across the room from Diane, staring right back. Okay, you can talk.
Don't be a creeper, Harry.
"You have a lovely home, Mrs. Dursley," Harry said in an attempt to be nice. It doesn't have to be an attempt to be nice. It can just be nice.
Be nice, Harry.
"It's Diane," the brunette woman said from her position on the couch, eyes not leaving Harry for a second. Dudley knew from experience that Diane was always reluctant to trust new people, and the fact that Harry still wore that blasted cloak didn't help him look any less menacing. Yeah, I also like that he called it a blasted cloak because I feel like that was very Vernon of him.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of his dad in him, which I mean, fine.
A little is acceptable.
Yeah, because his father was very protective and very
Yes.
supportive of one of his children.
Yes.
So, a little bit is okay. But once again, it was Mari who broke the tension when she walked up to Harry, despite her mother's wishes. All eyes were on the smallest Dursley as she reached up and tugged on Harry's cloak. "Why are you still wearing your cloak? It's warm in here. Mommy always says it's rude to keep your outdoor clothes on inside," the little brunette quipped, playing with the material of Harry's robe. To the surprise of everyone in the room, Harry laughed. "I suppose it is rude for me to keep my hood up. I guess you could say I'm just a little shy about meeting all of you." After a moment, Harry reached up and brought his hood down. Dudley had to move to the other side of the room to finally get a good look at his cousin after all these years. Harry still had that head of thick black hair, and even after almost 20 years, he still hadn't managed to tame it. His face was still pale, but it wasn't as sickly as Dudley remembered it, and his glasses were a pair of tidy, square-rimmed bifocals instead of Coke bottle circular ones that constantly had to be taped in place. I don't know, I feel like he wouldn't have changed his glasses from round to square. Even after he was in his 30s.
Yeah, probably not.
Maybe
though. Maybe Jenny would be like, "Harry, don't you think it's time to, like...
upgrade the style?"
Yeah, a little. Also, I like that he's wearing bifocals and he's, 30?
Well, I mean, he always needed glasses.
True.
So, I mean, it's fair to think that he would need bifocals in his 30s if he needed glasses his entire life.
True. Also, it kind of bothers me that, why is it that only Harry and Dumbledore wear glasses?
Only in the movies! Arthur, Percy, and several other characters had glasses, but they didn't put them in the movies.
I always forget that Percy didn't he have horn-rimmed ones?
Horn-rimmed glasses.
Yep. Percy, good for something, finally.
I know, seriously.
And, I mean, we all know that Skeeter had...
Glasses,
but I feel like hers were more fashion.
Yes, they definitely were more fashion glasses than function glasses.
Though she did continue to wear them after the stones fell out. So.
Right. So, I feel like they were function, but the style of them was very much for fashion.
Yes. Okay, back to our...
I'm sorry.
New tangent?
Yeah, I'm still on the glasses thing.
Oh, okay.
why didn't Harry get new glasses that didn't have to be repaired constantly once he was wizard rich?
Oh my god, I think about that all the time.
Because
Like, okay, so even if we're in the world where it's only Dumbledore and Harry wearing glasses, nobody thought that, oh, hey, this poor child is wearing broken glasses.
And now he's wizard rich, so let's give him some glasses.
Let's go to, at the very least, a muggle eye doctor and
Because
get him some regular glasses.
we all know Gringotts can do a currency exchange.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oy. Okay. I'm really happy that you also feel the same way about this.
I think about that all the time.
His eyes were still bright green to match his cloak. And the ink of the letter, Dudley mused. And, of course, he still had that odd scar on his forehead. Well, yeah.
Where's it gonna go, Dudley?
If he had it for the first 11 years of his life and it didn't fade, it is not about to fade now.
Mm-mm.
Like, no. Oh,
That's not how scars work.
No, especially magical scars. When Harry unclasped the gold buckle at his neck that secured his cloak, Dudley was able to see that his cousin was surprisingly plainly dressed. The blonde half expected, well, he didn't know what he was expecting, but seeing Harry in a green sweater and denim pants was almost a letdown. What about jeans? Denim pants?
Denim pants.
I believe the word you were looking for was jeans.
Denim pants. Are they cut like dress pants?
And just made of denim? Because that would have been a denim trouser.
Which is still weird.
Yeah, but women's denim trouser pants are great.
I could see that, yes.
Yeah, they're great. I used to own a pair. I don't know what happened to them. They definitely wouldn't fit me now because they were a 0.
Yeah.
And I haven't been a size 0 since I was like 15. Confused?
Our realtor just texted and said, don't do anything yet. Okay, another offer might be coming in. Wonder if it was the people who looked at the house tonight. Conventional, yes. Conventional loan.
Woohoo!
We're trying to sell our house. Somebody please buy it.
So we can have our own
stop
word?
texting. Thumbs up. Did you really need to send 4 thumbs up emojis, Benjamin?
I think he did. I think...
Wait until at least 1 o'clock. Okay.
A.M.?
I'm assuming he means PM tomorrow. Look, 4 thumb up emojis.
I feel like... appropriate. We just wooed about it.
We did.
So...
None of my recent Bitmojis are appropriate. One's a dumpster fire, one's me taking a bath, one's lots of love, and one is I object.
Yeah, I don't think any of those are appropriate.
Okay, we're just not going to respond then.
Yep. Nope. Okay. Oh, Mara, you are so mean. The little Dursley girl giggled as her hands played with the fabric. Harry's glasses-framed eyes seemed to twinkle with excitement. Did you know that cloak is magical? Dudley watched as his daughter's eyes went wide. Really? The older man nodded. Of course! Watch! Harry smiled as he threw the cloak around Marigold's smaller body. But to the amazement of the entire family, by the time Harry fastened the pin, the green cloak looked like it had been made for Mari's small body instead of the older wizard's bigger frame. The little girl giggled happily, skipping around the room in the cloak, eager to play dress-up. Me.
Yep.
Me.
100%.
Mari is my spirit animal. Harry smiled, leaning against the door frame. Dudley looked at his cousin. Did you do that, or was the cloak really enchanted? Harry chuckled. Now that you'll have to find out for yourself. The family spent the next few minutes just watching the youngest Dursley play with her new favorite toy. But after a while, Mara became more interested in Harry again. After she was done with the cloak, the little girl pointed to Harry's chest, which had a giant yellow H knit into the hunter green sweater, and asked, "What's that?" Okay, Mari, you are 9.
You know what the letter H is.
I think you know what an H knit into a sweater is. But, okay. Dudley watched as the bespectacled man knelt to his daughter's level. "This?" Harry asked, picking an imaginary lint that had gathered on the H. "This was a gift my mother-in-law made me." "I should know. It's the same every year," he added with a chuckle. Harry was married? This caught Dudley off guard. To be sure, the blonde stole a glance at his cousin's left hand. Sure enough, there was a gold band around the fourth finger. "I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I got married after all." "Oh!" Mari nodded, and then looked up at the dark-haired wizard. "Does she think you'll forget your name?" "Mari!" Diane whispered harshly to her daughter, but Harry only smiled. "It's quite all right. I know how inquisitive 8-year-olds can be." Marigold huffed. "I'm 9, thank you very much." To add to her statement, the little girl crossed her arms over her chest much like her mother would when she was cross about something. Harry smiled, humoring the young girl. "I'm so terribly sorry, miss." "Mari," the little brunette said proudly. "My real name is Marigold, but no one calls me that except when I'm in trouble." It was then that Harry shared a look with Dudley. "Keeping up with tradition, Dudley?" It was a simple statement, but both men knew it held importance to them for some reason. Harry looked back at Mari. "You know, my daughter, Lily, is around your age, Mari." "You have children, Mr. Potter?" Diane blurted, and then blushed at how rude she had sounded. But in all honesty, Dudley was thinking the same thing. Harry had kids, and one of them was named Lily, for Pete's sake. But Harry only smiled. "I have 3 wonderful children back home with their mother." The wizard reached behind him, retrieving a well-worn wallet from his back pocket. "Here's a picture of us last Christmas," he added as he handed the picture to Diane. Both Diane and Will looked at the picture before Diane dropped it, shrieking. Dudley moved quickly to his wife. "What's wrong?" Harry hadn't cursed the picture, had he? But it was Will that responded. "They're moving!" Dudley followed his son's line of sight, looking at the picture on the floor. Sure enough, what at first seemed like any other picture was actually what looked like a home video in a picture. Harry was standing with his arms around the auburn-haired woman, probably his wife. Oh, yeah. And the two were laughing. I mean, who else would his arms be around in a picture of his family?
Katie is so sassy right now.
Jesus!
But true. It's true.
A red-haired boy, maybe a few years older than Will, ran into the picture, throwing snowballs at 2 younger children. The youngest, Lily, as Harry mentioned, ran behind her mother, while another boy, it was almost like looking at Harry as a child. Everything was the same, sans the scar. And the fact that the smaller version of Harry was laughing in the picture, throwing snowballs back at his brother, it made Dudley sick to his stomach. The real Harry chuckled, standing up straight. "I'm sorry about that. I should have mentioned that wizarding photos do that." A small blush crept up his cheeks as the wizard rubbed his neck. There was a moment that no one spoke. Then, "This is real, isn't it? This isn't a dream." Dudley was surprised how easily Will had fallen into the background. With all the commotion of seeing his cousin again, he had forgotten the reason why he had called for Harry. His son was a wizard. "Yes, it's real," the older wizard said as he approached the younger wizard. "You must be Will." A kind smile drifted across his face as the paler man extended his hand. "I'm Harry." "That was very nice, Harry, but you should have done that ages ago."
Yeah, like, why didn't you just, introduce yourself at the very beginning?
To everyone.
Yeah. This is getting weird now.
Right, you've now talked to Mari, told everybody about your children, but has not introduced yourself.
It's weird.
Will's blue eyes looked up at Harry's green ones, looking for something. He must have found it, because he took the older wizard's hand and gave him a firm shake. "Good handshake, Will. I'm proud of you." Dudley had a feeling that the handshake was more than his son accepting his cousin's greeting. It was almost like the two wizards had shared a bond, and by Will accepting the handshake, he was accepting a world and a lifestyle he knew nothing about. That is a loaded handshake.
That's a very loaded handshake.
That's a lot. That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Diane seemed to notice the tense moment, for she stood up. "I'll just make some tea, shall I, before we start?" she added as she made her way to the kitchen, Mari following her, begging to help. Dudley watched as Harry sat down in an armchair, and Will seemed to immediately take the spot on the couch closest to him. If Dudley hadn't known that Harry was only there to help Will, he might have been jealous of his cousin's ability to charm people. But what Harry said next surprised Dudley. "It's still your birthday, isn't it, Will?" The smaller blonde nodded. "Yes, it is." Harry smiled. "Good, because I would hate to give you a belated birthday gift after we only just met." With that, Harry began to rummage through his wallet again. Will quickly tried to make Harry feel less guilty. "Oh no, that's all right. You don't have to do that." Dudley watched as his son's eyes grew wider as his sentence trailed off, and he could understand why. Harry had somehow managed to fit his entire arm up to his shoulder into his wallet, rummaging for something. "How are you doing that?" Will asked, amazed. Harry only smiled. "Magic."
Duh.
"Why? He's a wizard. You've already established that he has magic." "Of course it is," Dudley said tiredly. "Yes, Dudley, I understand that mood that you're in right now." Harry looked at him before drawing out a small package from his wallet. I love that sentence.
Like how it's a small package.
From his wallet, that he just had his entire arm up to his elbow inside. I'm sorry, shoulder, not elbow.
Shoulder.
I mean, either would be impressive,
Yes.
but want some chocolate, Dudley? It always makes me feel better when I need a pick-me-up. The dark-haired wizard tossed the package to Dudley before resuming his searching for whatever it was in his wallet. The older blonde stared at the chocolate in his hands. "Harry, I'm sure you remember what happened the last time I tried wizard sweets?" Will only stared at his father, wondering what had happened last time. Harry only chuckled, still shoulder deep in his wallet. "Don't worry, that's prank-free chocolate. It's Honeyduke's best chocolate. It's arguably the best chocolate in the world. Go on, try it." His cousin gave him a sweet smile. Will was torn between the two men, one with his entire arm in a wallet the size of his father's hand, and the other seemingly afraid of chocolate.
I would be afraid of chocolate too after what happened when Fred and George were at my house last time.
I mean, one, you never accept food from Fred and George.
True.
Never. 'Cause
Ever.
it's gonna either turn you into a bird, give you a massive tongue, have you vomit uncontrollably, give you a nosebleed, or pass out. But just as Dudley took his first bite of chocolate, which was delicious, Harry seemed to have found what he had been looking for. "Here we go, Will. Now, this is only part of your gift, but I thought your whole family would like to have it for reference." Will's brow was wrinkled in confusion as the older wizard brought out a massive tome out of his wallet. "How did you do that?" The three men looked over at Diane holding the tea tray with Mari right on her heels. "Magic," they all responded. Diane rolled her eyes. "Of course. But what is that?" she asked as she set down the tea tray, gesturing to the book. Harry smiled. "This is everything you'll need to know about Hogwarts, the school. I thought it might help not only Will, but all of you." Harry set the large book in Will's lap. The boy looked at the worn cover of the tome, Hogwarts, a History. Will was quiet for a moment. "It's so big." To this, Harry laughed. "Well, I certainly don't expect you to read everything from the beginning. That's a lot of history to retain, all the way to the 9th century. But Harry's grin softened at Will's overwhelmed expression. "Try reading from chapter 17 on. That might prove to help you a bit more about how the school runs." Mr. Potter. Harry's gaze was instead directed at Diane, who was still kneeling by the tea tray on the coffee table. Please, call me Harry. Diane shook her head. Whatever I call you, I need to know what my son is getting into. This is a school of witchcraft. I need to know for certain that there isn't anything evil or that Will isn't going to be doing virgin sacrifices or anything like that. Harry's face sobered up, leaning forward with his elbows resting on his knees. I won't lie to you, Diane. I can't promise that there is no evil in the wizarding world. I don't know what Dudley has told you, but my parents were killed by a very dark wizard. Diane stifled a gasp, but in doing so, knocked over a cup of tea she had been pouring. No, he hadn't mentioned that. Husband and wife shared a brief glance before the family looked back at Harry. Dudley watched as his cousin rubbed his eyes from under his glasses before continuing. I can't promise that the wizarding world is free from all evil, but to be honest, you can't promise that the muggle world is free of evil either. Mari giggled and looked up at Harry. Muggle? The emerald-eyed wizard gave a small smile to the little girl. That's the name we magical folk give to people that can't do magic. You call us wizards, we call you muggles. All joking aside, the older wizard turned his gaze to Diane. I will tell you this. Hogwarts is about helping young witches and wizards control and strengthen their magic for good, never evil. Will fidgeted, thinking back to the incident with Mr. Wilson. How do you know that? Harry looked at his cousin's oldest boy. Because I wouldn't be doing my job right if I didn't teach my students how to use their magic for good. Okay, pause. I love that in this story, Harry is a professor.
I do like that.
Because I totally feel like this is the path he actually would have chosen in life. Not a magical police officer. He had enough of that nonsense in his childhood. And I feel like some of the only times he was actually happy was when he was teaching the DA.
Yeah, I feel like that was when he was at his happiest. I think that maybe, immediately after, he might have gone to, aura training and,
And then realized it wasn't what he wanted.
Yeah.
And then called up McGonagall and was like, hey,
you want a new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher?
Because I don't want to be an auror.
Yeah. And, I could see him, having, all these, cool clubs where they, do dueling. And,
right, he would be a great dueling club.
Oh, yeah, and
teacher.
He would be the Quidditch coach.
Oh, and, without a doubt. Dudley was surprised, to say the least. You teach at Hogwarts, Harry? Harry smiled. Yes, I'll be one of Will's teachers if and when he attends Hogwarts. At that piece of news, Will sat straight up. What do you teach? Is it hard, like math? The older man chuckled. I don't think it's a terribly hard subject, but it is important. When you attend Hogwarts, I'll be your Defense Against the Dark Arts professor. I'll teach you everything you need to know to keep you from doing everything your mother's afraid you'll do. Diane rolled her eyes. So you teach at Hogwarts. Does that mean you know some of the professors Will will have? Harry nodded, looking at Will. Of course. I'm actually very good friends with Neville Longbottom. Hey! That's the guy who wrote my letter, Will interjected. Harry nodded again with a smile. That's the one. He'll be teaching Will herbology, which is the study of plants and how some plants have magical and medicinal properties. There's also charms and transfiguration and potions and even flying. Will was almost out of his seat. Wizards can fly? Harry laughed loudly. Oh no, that's just impractical. We use brooms, of course. The Dursley family was dead silent, trying to figure out if Harry was joking or not. Dudley, you know Harry's not joking.
You've seen people use brooms.
You saw his broom get locked up under the cupboard. While they were deciding, the grandfather clock in the hallway began to chime. Harry stood up. Oh my, it's getting late. I should probably get going. Wait! Will all but shouted, leaping out of his seat, despite the large book in his lap. You can't go just yet. I still have so many questions. Harry looked down at Will, pondering for a second. Then he spoke. Well, if your parents don't mind, you're always welcome to our house. In fact, Ginny would be delighted if you were to join us for dinner tomorrow. Dudley looked at Diane, and Diane looked at Dudley. Mari just looked at Harry, eyes wide and filled with awe. Really? We get to go to the wizard's house? Hooray! The little girl began to dance around the family room while her brother just looked from Harry to his parents, waiting for their answer. Dudley sighed, exhausted. I guess we got to go to a wizard's house.
So, other strange topic. How do you think home life is for wizards that teach at Hogwarts but have like a family?
See, I was thinking about that because, like, almost all of the professors at Hogwarts when Harry was there were single.
Yeah, they were all single.
Right.
Lived
in, like, their office.
Yeah.
Which, like, okay, we always saw their offices, but I guess we never, like, really got to see, like, their living quarters. Except for maybe Slughorn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, they literally slept there. We often saw the professors in their pajamas.
Mm-hmm.
How would home life be? Like, and I get that Ginny is, at this point, Ginny is a correspondent for the Daily Prophet. She's no longer
Yes.
a Quidditch player.
Yes. So she could be at home with Lily when everyone else goes off to school.
Right.
But, like, do you, like, go home on the weekends? Like, because you still have to, like, grade papers and, like,
Right.
you have rounds and...
But I mean, at the same time, a lot of weekends, most of the older kids are in Hogsmeade.
Mm-hmm. True.
So you're really only watching some of the younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, that would be a lot. Like, I would not be happy if my husband taught at Hogwarts.
Well, I mean, like, it is kind of different because it's not, like, travel time here where, like, it takes us an hour to get home from work at night.
Right. It's a quick pop in and out. So, realistically, Harry could go home for dinner.
Yeah.
And then be back. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes.
A nice one. And you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Through the Trapdoor 16 and on our Twitter at The Trapdoor 16.
Because Through the Trapdoor was too long for Twitter.
Yep.
And you can email us at throughthetrapdoor16@gmail.com with any story suggestions or if there's anything you think that we need to see, whether it's a meme or another fan fiction, or if you have anything to say to us.
Bye.
Bye.